Hello everyone, it's me again, Erlin from the Experience Research Lab. Today I want to talk about different methods used to collect data: census, election, referendum, poll, and survey. Are they mandatory or voluntary? To answer the question, I need to explain the difference first. Let us start with the census. According to Merriam-Webster, the word census is from Latin word census, from censere, which means to give as an opinion, assess, appraise, perform the duties of a censor. The first identified use of the English word census was in 1634. By then, the word census referred to the population count and property evaluation in early Rome. Since then, the word census gets more popular with a new definition of a complete enumeration of a given population. That is the keyword. A census acquires, records, and calculates information from every single member of our population, not only the representative. It touches on different topics, including but not limited to the sex and gender, households and families, income and work, unpaid work and care, education and training, disability and careers, housing, location, transport, cultural diversity, religion, other topics such as health. Therefore, a census usually contains a long list of questions of more than 50. It may take hours to complete one. Fortunately, a census is not so frequent. In most countries, it is periodical every 10 years. It is mandatory. It means everyone, including citizens, permanent residents, and temporary ones who live, work, and study in the country, must participate. Otherwise, they will face a penalty economically, socially, and even legally. In Australia, for example, those who fail to complete the 25-page, 66-question census timely will face prosecution and pay a fine of up to $222 per day. Worse, if they continue to refuse to participate despite direction by the Australian statistician, they may receive a criminal conviction. In Indonesia, Article 27 of the 1997 law states that all respondents must supply the data on request. The penalty for not doing so is a term of imprisonment not exceeding 18 months and a fine of up to 25 million rupiahs. That's around $2,650. The question is, why is census mandatory? The answer is that it aims to serve the community better. By participating and providing valid and reliable information, everyone helps determine how the government should manage and spend the budget for the next few years. Do they need to build more airports, hospitals, roads, schools, or other public works? Where and when? How about the election? Is it mandatory as well? The answer depends on each country. While a census covers the population, an election is limited to citizens only. Additionally, participation is not always mandatory. Yes, in Australia, participation in an election is mandatory for every citizen aged 18 or over. It is a responsibility. Failure to vote may result in a fine and a day in a court. However, in the neighboring country, Indonesia, it is not mandatory to participate in an election. It is not a responsibility. It is a right that anyone can voluntarily choose to use or not. Up in Singapore, an election is mandatory for eligible citizens. Those who fail to participate will see their names removed from the register of electors and won't be able to vote in future elections. In other words, they will be considered non-existent. Why is it? Because by participating in the election, the citizens vote for the leaders they believe and happy to support to serve the federal, state, or local community better. Likewise, a referendum, which is also limited to eligible citizens, is mandatory. If you're wondering where it differs from an election, it is on the objective and timeline. If an election looks for the most supported leaders, a referendum seeks a yes or no decisions on a proposal. Another thing is that an election runs periodically every 4 or 5 years. Meanwhile, a referendum is only on an ad hoc basis. So far, we have talked about the census, election, and referendum. Before I continue, I want to highlight that all three targets the population. The difference is that if a census covers both citizens and non-citizens, an election and referendum are for eligible citizens only. Both census and election are periodicals only referendum is on an ad hoc basis. A census asks tens of questions, while an election and referendum ask only one. Regardless, they are all straightforward. When it comes to the main question, only census is mandatory across the globe. Meanwhile, participation in an election and referendum depends on the country, state, or city. Unlike those three, a poll does not cover the whole population. Instead, it targets a subset randomly sampled from those participating in an election or referendum. The time is usually shorter, with only 1 or 2 questions asked to the participating respondents. These questions usually touch on the respondents' opinions about the leaders and the policies proposed. Based on their answers to the question, the pollsters or the person conducting the poll can extrapolate generalities in ratio or within confidence intervals. Another difference from the previous three is that participation in a poll is not mandatory. It is voluntary. Everyone is free to decide either to opt in or to opt out. Therefore, a poll is prone to inaccuracy. The sampling technique may lead to several biases, including coverage bias, non-response bias, and response bias. Other sources of inaccuracy are the questions asked to the respondents. They may be difficult to understand, open to multiple interpretation, and even leading. A survey is similar to a poll regarding the target respondents and the nature of participation. Both work around samples who can choose whether to participate or not. However, a survey tends to be more complex as it does not only ask about opinions but also other questions on awareness, attitudes, behaviors, preferences, etc. Consequently, there is a larger room for inaccuracy in a survey, not only from the sampling technique and wording, but also from the order and way of asking questions. In another video I created months ago, I highlighted the pros and cons, plus and minus of asking survey questions on printed paper, in person, over the phone, or online. If you want to learn more, please feel free to watch right after this. For now, I want to explain why a survey is not mandatory. First, it is neither as critical nor urgent as a census, election, or referendum. As mentioned earlier on, some countries give their citizens the freedom to decide whether or not to participate in elections, which is essential to determine the future of the nations. So why do you think you have the power to tell any of them to do a survey, especially when the objective is not clear? Second, as a researcher, product developer, service designer, or representative of an organization, you might say, hey, our survey is also critical to identify our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of substitutes and new entrants, plus the bargaining power of suppliers and buyers. Otherwise, we cannot develop a product or design a service that meets the needs of our target clients or customers. Indeed, such an argument is 100% valid. However, that is not necessarily defensible to make a survey mandatory. Why? Because yours is not the only product or service that they use. Every day, different organizations run surveys for quite similar reasons. They ask a few to tens of questions that may take minutes to hours of respondents' time. If you have never heard of research fatigue, people are tired of being asked questions now and then, here and there, while they don't see or feel the benefits. In the upcoming video, I'll explain how to get people to voluntarily participate in a survey without making them tired. For now, I'll leave you here. Thank you for being with me. For more insight into research, market research, product research, customer research, and user research, please subscribe, visit our website, and listen to and watch our content. They're available in text, audio, and audio-visual format. See you in the other videos, and cheers!